So this here's a painting video for a Space Marine Chaplain on a bike. Now this isn't the actual model. The actual model is out of stock and it's hard to get. But in that case, what we ended up doing was we just kit bashed some of the Indominus box. We took the Chaplain that's in the box as well as one of the Outrider bikes, and we merged them together into the model you see in front of you. So we're going to paint him up and show you how we painted him the way this way is. If you like this kind of video, or if you like the way he looks and you want to paint one up similar to that, just stay tuned and we'll show you how we did it. Otherwise than that, leave a comment or a like if you feel up to it. Subscribe to the channel, that always helps. And otherwise than that, stay tuned and we will show you how we painted this guy up. So this here's our painting video for our Chaplain on a bike. So what we did first was we base coated him with a black undercoat, black base. So that was Chaos Black, which is a Citadel base spray. So that got us to the overall black color. And then because it was a little bit shiny, we just did a quick dry brush of Abaddon Black over the whole model, just to tone that down a little bit. So that got us our nice fully black base coated model. So from here, we are going to start adding some colors and building him up. Now the first color we're going to use to build him up is going to be an Eshen gray. As you can see from the lighting in the image just here, you can see how the light hits sort of all these edges because of the light source I'm using. I'll brighten it up a little bit. What we're going to do is dry brush some of those edges with that Eshen gray, just to add some depth and some detail to just the uniform black look. So we'll do that now and meet back here in a few minutes, just so you can see some of the details on the bike, because we want that to stand out. We're going to try to do as many edges as we can. So we'll do sort of that one, the edges of the plates, as well as the top. Don't worry too much about the bolters, things like that, because we're going to come back and do that later with other colors. But just sort of everything that's going to be black armor. So the fenders, the rest of the bike, and then the arms and pieces of the armor of the Chaplain himself. So we'll do that now, meet back here in just a few minutes when we see how it looks. So this here's our model now that we finished with the Eshen gray trim. And as you can see, we lit up all the edges there. So they're a lot more distinct and bright. You can go over it with another brighter gray if you want, like an Administratum gray or something like that. But we're going to stop here at the Eshen gray. So with that, we've done that. We've also made sure we hit all the tires, back tires, and then we pretty much did a dry brush over all of the armor, just so you can see the different shade of black that's there. So with that, we're going to leave our black for now, and we're going to move on to our next color. And in this case, our next color is going to be Retributor armor. And we're going to start going over all of the trim on our model. So this guy's going to look like a Black Legion or a Black Templar, but effectively, we're going to do all the trim around all of the shoulder pads, the aguila that happens to be on this model, as well as the Crozius top, and the trim on the legs and on the other side. So we're going to do all of that and be back here in just a few minutes once that's done. And then you'll notice the model's considerably a little bit brighter. So this is our model now that we finished with the Retributor armor. And it's not your imagination. We did add a couple of more little logos on the side, because after I finished painting it, I felt it was a little boring and it really did need something there. So we just attached some icons from an old kit, because this isn't the original Chaplain on a bike. It's a kit bashed one. We had some artistic license here. But in any case, this is what the model looks like now that the Retributor armor is done. And as you can see, it's very flat gold. So we're going to add some highlights and some shades to that, just to bring out some of the details. So the next thing we're going to do is add a shade of Seraphim Sepia. And we're just going to, comfortably spread that all through here, all around the Crozius, all around the standard and the logos on the back and on the backpacks and on the Iron Halo. And we'll meet back here in a few minutes once that's done to add a highlight. Now that the shade is dried, what we're going to do now is add that highlight layer. And we're going to take some Liberator gold, which tends to settle out, so you have to really, really mix it well. And then we're just going to dry brush that right over the model. Which will just light back up the highlights. So we'll do the rest of that and be back here in a few minutes. So there's our model now that we finished with the gold overall. And from that, we're gonna move on to some of the metallic silver type stuff. So what we're gonna do now is take some lead belcher and then a little bit of Newell oil and then a highlight of Ironbreaker. And we're gonna do all of the things that are metallic here. So in that case, it's the bolter guns here, as well as the feeder chamber here, the ammunition feed, as well as all of the pipes, the hubcaps, maybe even this bolt here, some of the equipment here on the dashboard of the computer for the handlebars, and then the handle and such of the chainsword, the teeth of the chainsword, the vents on the back of the backpack. So all of those things there we're going to do with that metallic. So we'll paint them all up now and meet back here again when they're done. And that'll add another layer of color to the model. So this is our model now that we finished with the metallic color. So we've got that done now. We've got a few more color choices to do. I think the next thing we're going to do is do some of the piping in the back here. We're going to do this engine cover or exhaust cover. And with that, we're going to take a little bit of Balthasar gold and we're just going to spread that right over the top of that, covering that area there, and then meet back here in a few minutes once that's done. We may even put a highlight layer over that, which we'll see how it turns out. So we'll do that now and be right back. So this is our model now that we finished with the Balthasar gold. So what we're going to do from here is shade it with Agrax Earthshade, and then add a highlight of Brass Scorpion just to brighten it back up again. And then that'll be finished with the exhaust, and we'll move on to the next color. So for our next set of colors, what we're going to do is some of the red for our model. There's not much of it, but I like red books, so we're going to do this book in red here, as well as the barrels or the stocks of the bolters here. We're going to do those in a red. The chainsword I always do in red. We're also going to do the handle of the Crozius here, as well as the one on the motorcycle. We're going to do all those in red as well. And we're going to use a set of colors. We're going to take some Khorne red for a base, maybe wash it with some Agrax Earthshade, and then a dry brush layer of Evil Sunz Scarlet over the top. And that'll really brighten those up and add a little bit more color to our model. So we'll do that now and be back in just a few minutes. So here's our model now that we finished with all the red, and we're going to move on to our next color, and this is one of the last ones we have to do. We are going to do the skull helmet here, as well as anything that happens to need to go bone colored or light like that. So the skull helmet here, there's a Oath of Moment parchment going here. There's a couple of ribbons over here on the book. There's a few things around that we're going to do that with. And we're going to use the same colors we use on most of our models. We're going to take a base of Rakarth flesh, followed by a shade of Seraphim Sepia, and then a dry brush of Screaming Skull over the top of that. That should light that up quite nicely. So we'll do those now and meet back here again in a few minutes. So there's our model now that we finished with all the bone color. And as you can see, we did the head and the oaths and the straps and the bindings of the book. So with all that, we're ready to move on to one more color. And with that, we're going to do the holster, the belt, any of the satchels and things that are around. So, and all that's going to go brown. And for that, we're going to use a Rhinox hide base with a Skrag brown dry brush. Same as we do in most of our cases. And then we're just going to paint it and then dry brush it on. And then that will take care of the brown. So And now our model is almost finished. And what we're going to do here is the shoulder pad. So you could do any Legion you want. You can do Ultramarine blue and then put in a transfer on it, or you could do Blood Angels red and then put a transfer on it. We've been doing an Alpha Legion Loyalist chapter. So what we did was we put a Stormhost silver base on it, and then we're going to come through with a Terradon turquoise just to give us that Alpha Legion teal color here. So we'll do that now and then probably put a transfer, and that'll probably be the end of the model. So we'll probably clear coat and base it as well. But in any case, we'll meet back here in a few minutes when it's all done. So this here's our model now that we finished basing him. We've also clear coated him and we've got him ready for the tabletop. So if you like the way he looks and yours turned out similar to this, please feel free to leave a like or a comment on the channel. Let us know how yours turned out. And otherwise than that, we will see you at our next painting video. We'll put a few extra photos at the end just to show a couple of different angles on the model in case you wanted some closer looks at some details. But aside from that, we will see you at our next video. And thanks for staying with us this long.